DJ from PTA. Want to go over the market today. We had a couple runners. We had a couple stocks. As I told in the chat, we were still looking at SWIR. We still had our eyes on Vtnr, and then we had a nice little solid move on VERU. So those will be the stocks that I go over today. Wanted to discuss that SPY move. As I stated yesterday, I was looking for the stock to come bottom out and then get a nice little bounce. We did get that gap up, and then it actually held. We did have a bit of sell-off later in the day, but again, I didn't take a trade because I had already taken the trade earlier, and I didn't really want to do anything but short this market. So right now I was looking for that bounce to be prepared for a short to come back down to the 385 area or whatnot. I really wanted to see it bottom out and see exactly what it can do when it came to that. So that 385.15 area was something that I was looking at. Once it bounced off of there, come back up, retrace back down, and that'll be the area where if it gets heavy around that 385, you can really get a nice little flush. So it did exactly what I thought it would do. Bounce, open up higher in pre-market, kind of trend up. I wanted to get close to that 400 mark, and it looked like it had got up to about 403 before it actually pulled back. This is that pullback that I was referring to right here, and then it rebound. So does show strength in the market. I still look at the overall trend as being down. So I don't know. I'm thinking it's going to do a 385 wash over the next couple of weeks, but we'll see how it holds. The trade that I want to go over was yesterday's winner. I took another trade in that, which was Vtnr. As I was telling you guys before, we had this nice little rebound and then nice solid 3 days of movement. Now for me, if I hold overnight, I typically hold a small portion of shares. The bulk of the shares I usually play during a trading day. Excuse me. And the thing is that it's one of those hindsight things. You can kind of look at the chart and look back and say, oh, I should have held it from the first day we played it. But, for me, I'm all about getting in and getting out. So if I could see an opportunity where I can make a quick 60 cent, $1.20, $1.40, leave a filler on there, and then actually take off for the next couple of days as I add into that position, great. That is a great strategy to go with. But for me, just because of the market conditions, I really just don't hold. I'll go in there, get what I got to get, and keep it going. Some traders, Trade King, 313 on our floor, and a few other traders, they hold. They'll hold a massive 10,000 share position going into the next day. Me, I'm not, unless I'm super confident in this or it's going to be a massive gap up. I usually take everything off the table. So with this particular trade on VTNR, it was pretty much doing the same thing it did the day before, almost like an algorithm pattern of some sort. Take a look at this. What I like to do essentially is get people to get on board of seeing how this chart is going to play out before it happens. So again, guys, you got to look at the push pull. So we had a nice little push up, and then you could consider this sideways price action accumulation, and then we got another leg up. So when I see trades like this, my idea is, okay, where can I get in that makes sense? So sometimes you have to zero it down to a smaller time frame and see those key areas. So now this is looking a little bit different than the 1 hour, and this is just a 30-minute chart. So again, we had this nice little push up, pulled back, rejected, pushed up, sideways price action. Then we finally got our dip back down, pull back up, and then another dip back down. So that's starting to show some strength, and that is, wants to go higher. So remember this key area on this 30 minute, and we're looking at a key area of 1195. So when I decided to get in, I actually started getting interested in the trade, was really out of the gate. So I had already seen this right here. So that's technically this area here. Well, that area is technically here, but this is the area that we were kind of looking at. That's this area here. So when I got down to the 1 minute, it started to look very interesting, because this is sort of where, I was looking at it and was getting, somewhat anxious about playing it. Now, it did this nice little rip, and for some people, they missed it. I actually sat there and watched it. So when I got this push and then a pullback, it didn't drop below that low. It actually created a new low, or area of interest. So I'm starting to see it kind of trend up. So ultimately, I end up taking a trade on this. And the area I end up getting in at, let me look at my chart. It's about the 1223 area, about right there. So for me, I was just playing the rejections. I saw it. It's pushing up in the key area, which is pre-market high. Let's see, 1223. And from there, that's when, the trade started to kind of unfold. I'm risking it here. So I was literally risking 20 cent, 23 cent, or whatever. And that was where my risk to reward was. So the stock went up, and then it went sideways, dipped. But remember, that dip here is a rejection. It went higher, rejection. So ultimately, it propped itself up to take off. Once, you start seeing it move, you pretty much put your stop losses and everything in play, and then from there, you be pretty much all set. For me, as soon as I got my buck, I was done. And the reason being, again, we're just not seeing those significant gains to the point where I'm like, okay, I'm confident, and I'm going to sit here and hold this trade overnight. So dollar was about here. I took some shares off, and then I kind of just let it ride for the most part. When it started to do this on the 200-day moving average, that's when I took the rest of the shares off. Now, if it had held the whole day, I just would have stayed in the trade, because there's no reason to actually get out of the trade. And it ended up going to 1385. So got my buck, and then I got the rest off at 319. Or the 319, 1319, 1320 area. Got a lot of shares off in that area, so got a solid dollar per game trade. Now the next trade was SWIR. Now looking at the chart, similar to what we were dealing with on Vtnr. Had us a pullback and then a gap and go scenario. Now this stock was very interesting simply because it was trading over the 200-day moving average. So that gave it even more confidence that the stock was going to fly. So ultimately, some of our trades were still holding from the day before. This is one that, sort of slipped because I was just paying attention to too many other things at one time. So we actually get that push up, a little bit of an indecisive candle. It pull up, and then it immediately pull back after those 15 minutes or so. But again, it's that 9:45 turnaround that we talk about all the time, where people tend to wait the first 15 minutes before they get involved. and that was the key area. So it's not a factor of necessarily being there early or anything like that. It's more of a factor of seeing where exactly can you join the crowd when you're trading. You know, once you know what's going on, because you can look at the chart and tell, then becomes a situation where you're just placing trades because you know where they're going. On SWIR, looking at the chart, and this just at a glance, it didn't have a lot of volume. So ultimately, it kind of just held, and it ended up going to 2062. It was definitely a slow runner. That managed to keep up 1.4 million worth in volume. So this is one of those. It's just, I won on it, but it was really just systems kind of going back and forth or whatnot. So this was one of those slow trades, one of those ones you just kind of throw out there and let it ride for the day. Now, the other trade that was really shot out in most of the discourse that I was looking at was VERU. It had a massive amount of volume to come in, 109 million on this particular stock. It gave a lot back. I don't like to see days like that because honestly, unless you are going to squeeze, you just got a lot of people trapped in that sideways price action stuff. So breaking it down, go down to the 30-minute. VERU was coming off of a massive bounce. So let's go over that chart. So ultimately, you had a push, sideways, push. Then you actually had a down period right there. Push back up, down period. Push back up, down period. Push back up, down period. Push back up. And people probably thought that this was going to be a down area, but it was a good indication of where the stock could go if it caught some legs. So what we did was we took a look at the 5-minute in conjunction with what was going on. Now the chart looks a little bit different, and most people say, well, it looked different in what way? Well, look at this area here and then this area here. That was a really aggressive rip. That one candle pretty much knocked out 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35 minutes worth of price action in one candle as far as lengthwise. So it's something that would have been on my radar if I had been paying attention, but I don't know, just didn't see it. So looking at it now, your entry probably would have been here, risking to here. So I think that if you miss the trade, it's better to miss it than to go out there chasing it. Because typically if you're chasing it, that's when you mess around and, lose your shirt per se, because you're trying to chase a trade that's already gone. So it's kind of like one of those things where you really didn't have a place to be in the trade, but you just kind of made it up, and it worked out for you. VERU is one that, once it pop up on your radar, if you ever traded before, you want to trade it again because you probably made some money off of it. But this one here was just a quick sharp move. Really quick, nothing too fancy. Then we got in about 11:36, 11:30 something type of position. I mean, you literally risking to $10.63. So a good 40 cent, 50 cent risk. And, you know, you literally had $1 or so gain on that one. That really played out very well. So that's how VERU ended up panning out. So now you had this sideways price action kind of going sideways or whatever. And, you know, on the higher time frames to give you an idea of that, okay, this stock is channeling. So when it's channeling, you're just kind of waiting to see how they're going to react later on whether we go up or down. So this will probably be on radar for Monday, VERU. So that's a nugget for whoever watching this video to take a look at VERU Monday after this massive amount of volume the day before, well, Friday or whatnot. Vtnr, I personally would be interested in it above its dailies. So, you know, before that 1432, I'd like to see it get retested and hold and really take off Monday. But we'll see. You know, we'll see what the market gives us and how we're going to play it. But for the most part, you know, you only can play what you can play. You want to protect your bank. So if you don't see a good setup or even an A+ setup, don't settle for the second best. Make sure you hone in on your strategy and make sure it works best for you. All right, guys. Appreciate you tuning in. If you have questions, concerns, leave them in the comments. Click that like button. That helps with the YouTube algorithm and getting this information out to other traders, as well as subscribe. When you subscribe, you get all our videos. Our team is working effortlessly to try to keep these videos abreast and what's going on in the current market. So, hey, gang, other than that, I'm signing off. As I tell everyone, stay studying and stay focused.